Hiya, I'm Sarah from Standing Up to Scoliosis and the Scolio Temple. I'm just talking today. I feel since I had my rods out about 6 months ago now, I feel the need to talk about psychology and the physical body and the effects of, shall we say, altering the physical body beyond its capabilities to integrate and adapt with. Bit of a confusing subject, but I just feel this is what I experienced with having the rods in and my body ending up rejecting the rods. So it's obviously some people manage to integrate the rods within their system, and they live with them for life, and that's fine. I mean, I don't see any problem with this. If you're able to physically integrate, physically, emotionally, psychologically integrate and adapt to that structure being changed into that position and being held there, if you're able to adapt to that and adjust, then that's fine. That's fine. I'm not I'm not religious, I don't see any problem. I don't think, oh, you're playing God, or you're like, I do like to meditate, and I do have a spiritual sort of attitude to life that I love to connect to nature, and I believe in a God and an order of a creation. I believe in a heaven. So I think that we still go to heaven, even if we've had our body, whatever happens to our body, because lots of things can happen to our body in our life. People can get into any sort of situation where their body's damaged, and their soul is, probably eternal still. No one knows for definite, but I had a near-death experience recently, and it was a horrible experience, a suffering, of nearly dying, and the weird feelings with the rods in, but caused lots of emotional things to me that I didn't integrate very well. But ultimately, I felt, when I thought I was going to die, I thought definitely I'm going up to the light. I feel like their soul is eternal and there's somewhere we go after we die. So I'm not like sitting here judging anyone with what they do to their physical body during their life, because we can all get hurt and damaged. And who knows, maybe there's a greater judgment of God or of our soul and what we truly had in our hearts, and I don't know. I can't. No one can say about that. So, and yeah, I'm only mentioning this because I've heard of some religious families rejecting, being unhappy about having the surgery done and saying it's going against God, and sort of like almost rejecting their children because of wanting the surgery. So yeah, just want to make it clear, like, totally, when I'm talking about emotions and psychology, and even when I'm talking about energy, and some people will call it spirit, I'm not really talking about the soul or the greater purpose of God, or no one can know that. So totally not religious at all. But from an energetic perspective, a scientific energetic, that we hold energy in our body, and the energy, the freedom of movement and expression of our body is going to connect to our emotions, and even our psychological outset, our mindset to an extent. This is all I'm talking about here, because I'm a physical therapist. I've studied anatomy, and I'm very interested in the myofascial, anatomy trains and meridian lines, and how they hold electromagnetic energy and how everything flows in the body. So this is what I feel, when I dance. I used to dance professionally. When I meditate, we express the way we feel. We can express the way we feel physically. So basically for me, I think there's having the rods in, I did adapt to them and adjust to start with. There is something to be said for when you're younger, you adapt better. This is why they like to do the surgery, at such a young age. But for me, I think it was when my bones stopped growing completely, I just woke up in pain and it just didn't go away. And it started off just as chronic pain, but then that pain became psychological. And you know that the psychological, there's many research papers nowadays to prove that the psychological and the physical are very connected, because I don't know, for some reason medicine took a stance that the soul and the consciousness is separate from the physical body, like some religious influence happened at some point. And you know, we in the West, we sort of, or because of Christianity, we sort of rejected this, the way that people like practice in the East, you know, like where they believe that we can, you know, that our spirit and our energy is connected to our physical body as well. So I don't know exactly why this happened. I'm sure there's many complicated reasons, but you know, for sure science is showing what really is now, really is proving things more and more, you know, every day. And yeah, when someone has depression, they have stiffness in their myofascial meridian lines in their body, you know, it's stiffer, it doesn't glide as well, it doesn't move as well. So, you know, for sure, you know, our psychology, you know, there's biochemical problems in people's brains when they have mental health issues, you know, for sure there are logical scientific explanations to why people, you know, have mental health and emotional issues, you know, and it is physical as well, and this is definitely being proved now. But obviously on a more like spiritual or soulful level, you know, I think it's clear that when we look at sort of native people who grew up like with the land that they live on, we can see that they have a stronger connection to their physical body and to the land, because it's like in their DNA, it's in their soul, you know. So I think, you know, when Christianity took over the West, it originates from the Middle East, yet it's come and taken over different lands that have a very different climate, you know, a very different landscape to where it comes from. So, you know, when I'm a foreigner in on a different land, I don't feel as connected to that land. It's not really in my soul and my DNA as much, you know. And I think this rings true for, I mean, I developed a scoliosis and I didn't even know it was there. You know, I wasn't very connected to my physical body growing up. And I'm not saying that I think that's because I am, you know, I think there's a number of reasons why I lost my proprioception and connection to my physical body. I think partly this rings true for everyone, you know, that there's pollution and artificial things blocking the, you know, the signals and getting in the way. You know, we have all this computer technology and is, you know, signals coming in, we have lots of heavy metal pollutants, we're breathing in gas, like for sure there's artificial things getting in the way there. But maybe on a larger level, on a big grand scale, more spiritual level, maybe I wasn't that rooted where I grew up. Maybe I have ancestry and DNA coming from all different countries, you know, from lots of different places. So maybe I'm not, I mean, I'm not a very practical person. I'm not so great with my hands, but you know, there's some people out there that they're just naturals, you know, they just connect to all the type of artistry and crafts, you know, that are in this country. So yeah, I mean, I have some, I'm English and I have some Celtic ancestry, but I think it's only a small 10 to 20%, you know, and it's divided between Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And then I have some, you know, I clearly come over from Europe. I have some Germanic and I have some even European Jewish. So, I mean, I like the sunlight, and I just know when I meditate that my ancestors came from the Middle East and through the Mediterranean and through Germany and, you know, and then into the UK. So how much of me comes from that path and how much of me comes from any real native Celtic ancestry path? I mean, this is the, when we meditate, you know, we, like, how much do we connect to the land we live on? How much do we enjoy the climate? How much do we want more sun, or do we like less sun? You know, do we like these type of trees, or do we, because if we can connect, you know, to the food that's grown on the land and eat the herbs, and we're going to have a stronger connection to our physical body as well. So, you know, the search to connect to my scoliosis and help cure it has led me to know that my connection to the land is very important, as my connection to my body is. And the stronger I'm connected to my body and nature and the land, the happier I feel. Like, I feel so much more like loving, rooted at home. Like, I just feel so much more vitality. But yeah, there are other types of happiness for sure. A lot of Western psychology is there's a lot of mind and about other people around us. So we have a psychology that's related to the other people in our world and the energies, you know, how we connect to others. And then we have a psychology related to how we connect to, you know, to the land and to the environment and nature around us, and all of these influence. But in the West, we just focus more on the other people and being manipulated and how we're controlled from childhood, and that's not the only thing, you know, influencing us in my perspective at all. But yeah, I haven't really focused so much on the surgery, because this is like I sort of gone off on a tangent to a talk in general about proprioceptive connection to the body and how this mind, body and spirit is all connected. But why does this link to scoliosis surgery specifically? Because I felt my personality changed straight after I had the surgery, really. Even though physically I adapted quite well and I healed well and I went on to do professional dancing with them in, something wasn't quite the same and was missing. Like, I couldn't sit still to study anymore. And I remember having moments where I was like sitting there, just sitting after all my dance college and all my day, just being by myself and sitting. And I just remember feeling a bit lost, like, and disconnected, like something doesn't feel right. What do I do now? I couldn't just be with myself, you know? Maybe it's because I had two solid rods in me the whole time and something just didn't feel right about it, and I wanted to be distracted constantly. But yeah, I mean, this, and then obviously I got in chronic pain, chronic depression, and then chronic fatigue. And obviously I've talked about, you know, like bacteria and viruses and things can get stuck in the tissues, and if stuff is stagnated and stuck, then you can get unwell. So I've talked about more of the physical reasons why having the rods in didn't work for me, because I got unwell and tired and in pain and stiff and stuck. But what about emotionally and psychologically? Like, I just felt less and less at home in myself, less and less able to connect, and my emotions become all over the place. Like, I become very like PTSD eventually. Like, it started off like just depression and like being pulled in like into a dark place. Like, I was being pulled back and held constantly, which I physically was, but I felt that emotionally as well. Like, I'm constantly being stuck and held down and pinned in, and like that really affected me psychologically. And I was in a dark place spiritually, emotionally, in every way. And you know, now I've had the rods taken out, it's like, oh my God, I remember who I was before. It's like everything flows and connects in my body, and I'm like, I feel like I'm me again. I feel like I became someone else when I had the surgery. Like, I become obsessed by the way I looked and my physical body, and I couldn't sit and study, so I wasn't really so academic anymore, and I was very lost and had to find a new path, because the way everything flowed and connected was different. Maybe there was some benefits and good things to that, like, because everything was more aligned. You know, maybe maybe I found some creative channels or connections that I didn't have before. Maybe I felt more confident about the way I looked, like I thought I looked better. But I mean, those small benefits are a big, there's a big price to pay for all the issues that I had with it. And if there was other treatments and options, that could help me, that other than the surgery, I would definitely go for them if I could turn back the hands of time. But yeah, I'm sure it's like, everyone's different and there's a lot to weigh up and assess. But yeah, it just psychologically, emotionally, and for my sort of spirit and energy, it didn't end up working for me. I went to a very dark place in the end. I become very unwell mentally and psychologically. I become like confused in myself, more and more disconnected, and just someone who was just highly traumatized, like in every way, like, and nothing could ever just relax and ground and flow and calm, and breathe again. Like it just yeah, I think I've explained what I mean. It just wasn't right in the long run. And I think that people need to talk about the psychological and emotional impacts that scoliosis surgery can have, because there's a lot of psychology with just scoliosis on its own, for sure. And that is like naturally how we're born. We're born into this life naturally with scoliosis. I mean, this happened, even if there was a trauma or an accident or something, that doesn't seem so natural, like a toxin got in our system or something, that pulls us from the ordinary. At least it just happened. But when someone alters you surgically, it's totally unexpected. It's like a total, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Like, where did that come from? That's totally unexpected. And I just think that it's like a step too far, in my opinion. I mean, I think if you really need surgery and there's real structural issues and you're going to die and be totally damaged without it, then I think obviously, yeah, I think there's exceptions where you should have the surgery. But I mean, I don't really think in the long run it's good to keep the rods in either. I mean, that's a totally another issue as well. But it just, yeah, I mean, things are totally different without the rods in. So I'm fused, but I have no rods now, and I feel like more like myself again. I guess in some ways I am altered and some things are a bit different, but because my whole blood is allowed to flow, my body's allowed to breathe, everything is allowed to try and connect back into a natural order again. But it just couldn't do that when the rods were in the way. It was like the river was just clogged up and blocked and nothing could flow, and everything got polluted and stagnated. So I think, yeah, it is a big deal in some ways. And yeah, I think it would be nice if people were allowed were warned about the psychological and emotional impacts of surgery and what it can have on you, as well as, we're not even told about all the physical problems by our doctors. We're not really given, it's not really informed consent, because we're not really fully informed about what the hell is going to happen to us if we have this operation. So yeah, I think I've said enough, and I've probably bored some people to tears and waffled on. And I don't want people to think that I'm like moaning, or I'm sure that everyone meant well and was trying to help me by doing this surgery, but all I know is it fucked up my life emotionally. I've lost so many friends. Like, so many friends just have not understood me and have neglected me, and like just been totally confused about some of my rash behaviour, impulsive decisions, just because I was in such a dark place. I was in so much pain. I've acted out a little bit, become a bit too, rebellious and just been desperate to try things to get me out of pain and stop me being stuck and stagnated, and to get me to feel and ground again. And so I think maybe I've been misjudged or just misunderstood totally by a lot of friends and people around me. Yeah, so it's created a lot of confusion and chaos in my life that wasn't there before. I mean, I had consistent friends. I was a consistent character that not everyone liked, you know. Some people thought I was a bit boring or geeky or unusual, I suppose, because of my scoliosis. But, you know, at least they knew who I was, and I was consistent with my character. But yeah, this surgery has caused a lot of changes, and sometimes we don't integrate those changes quick enough. And this is another debate with the medical, you know, with drugs that are not natural, not totally like that, it's synthetic, or, you know, this is a debate we could have with RNA vaccines. You know, they might work really well, but can they alter people too fast that they can't handle and create adverse reactions, or in some people, you know? Like, same with any kind of medical drug that's synthetic and not totally natural. Like, maybe it can work and almost seem to perform miracles, you know, in some cases. But if someone's like on a greater scale, nature can't catch up with what these miracle drugs or whatever, surgical treatments or RNA, whatever, if our body can't integrate that at a natural pace, you know, this is where I can sort of see why some religions say it's not really what God intended if nature can't catch up with it. But yeah, maybe nature can integrate with these things, and maybe if we take the right remedies to clear residual stuff that's synthetic stuck in us, maybe we can detox and clear some stuff out and still get the benefits of the magic formula or potion that they created. You know, I like to think positive about all these things. I like to think that we can use medicine in a positive way, for definite. And obviously just using everything that's just natural only, you know, doesn't work for everyone. Might not be enough, might not be strong enough for many health conditions. Okay. I've like gone on a tangent now to medicine. So I'm gonna say it over and out. Bye peeps, have a good day.